Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Chiaowei from CoursePad. Thank you so much for attending and thank you so much for giving us about an hour of your evening time. Basically, this webinar we are planning to sort of explain what we do, both CoursePad and Syzygy, me representing CoursePad and Laurie representing Syzygy. What we do is we basically are a learning platform that is very mobile centric, and what we are trying to do is to drive engagement and behavior in a lot of organizations and to improve business performance. And some of the people that we work with are some of the local banks and GIC in Singapore, such as GIC, Standard Chartered, DBS, Sentosa, Civil Service College, and even some of the international organizations such as Sharma Leadership and Coca-Cola. Maybe I could hear a bit from you guys. Basically, who are you and what is it on this webinar you are wishing to learn and what kind of challenges you face in terms of learning and training?
Do you want us to type it or just introduce
it? Yep.
Sorry?
You can speak and contribute. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm from NTU, and I think I've met you before or some of your representatives.
Okay.
And I'm in the Center for Teaching and Learning. It's actually the Teaching, Learning, and Pedagogical Division.
Okay.
Yeah, and we are into faculty development.
Okay, so it's more internal kind of thing?
Yes, it is, but we do organize conferences and seminars.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do even external?
We used to do for external, but now it's only mainly for focusing on internal.
Okay, so yeah. the other faculties, if those of NTU itself?
Yeah, they are the professors as well as the staff.
Okay. Okay, that's nice. So what kind of challenges, as in, what's the main sort of pain that you're facing at the moment?
Well, we just kind of developed our faculty development system, which is an online platform where they can actually do a single sign-on via our staff link. And yeah, there are issues, and then you need to have a constant upgrade. So that's one of the pain. The other pain would be for them to be interested and getting them to sign up for the courses.
Okay.
And the last pain would be for them to sign up. They do sign up, but they don't turn up for training.
From them.
Yeah.
Going through the whole process. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Melissa. How are you, Rachel?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Hello?
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I work for Capital City Training. We are a financial training company based in London. Okay. And my colleague, or rather one of our managing directors, Mark Woolhouse, I think, well, he did some training for one of our clients. I think it was either last year or the year before, and I think he was introduced to CoursePad then. I think were using it to an extent. And we are currently looking to expand and upgrade our very minimal e-learning offering at the moment. So we're actually doing a sort of fact-finding project at the moment, trying to find out what technology our clients are using, what we could be looking at, how, what different types of courses we can do, what different technology we should be using to produce that course, to produce the content, to actually send out the training. So that's where we're at the moment.
Okay, so pretty much starting from scratch.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we do have an e-learning offering at the moment, but it is very small. We only have 3 courses, and it's all flash-based, which already is causing problems with mobile devices and that kind of thing. So, yeah, pretty much starting from scratch.
Okay, great. Okay. So maybe I'll let Laurie introduce herself. And then maybe, like Rachel, as in you're saying that, you're looking for stuff like that. And of course, Pat, we can offer you some kind of information if that helps. Probably sometime later. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. So thanks for sharing. It also just helps me contextualize. So I'm going to keep talking, whether you internal, like Melissa, or whether you external like Rachel. At the end of the day, all of us want to bring value to the people that we work with. So I'm going to sort of talk in quite a collective way, not sort of distinguish too much. So the focus is really not trying to get away from, and I'm not saying you guys are or not, but a lot of the work I do is just getting people to shift their mindset, and often it's even the business people themselves or the faculty themselves where they want to be trained, but really it's all about how do we improve people's performance. And really, I'm going to keep using the word purpose over and over again. So where I come from, it's my background, psychology and behavior change. And over the years, what I've done is learn from a lot of organizations, and then I've evolved. And as I say, anything I share with you, honestly, is really common sense, but it's not always what happens in organizations, whether you're internal or external. So it's 27 years of always doing the same thing and always partnering, whether I was inside or outside. I've partnered with some of the top organizations, from technology companies, Cisco Systems, Dell, HP, to banks like Standard Chartered Bank, DBS, to Castrol, to restaurants, to hotels, and even in NGO. I come from South Africa originally, so I've worked in NGOs as well, or with NGOs. So whatever I'm sharing, I'm going to just jump through a few case studies just to give you a bit of context, to say whether it was for a bank, like this was DBS, which is a really growing bank here, and they want to be the global bank of choice, the Asian bank of choice globally. Whether we looked at team-based or self-managed learning, or whether it was with Hewlett-Packard looking at their channel sales, whatever I share with you in a moment about the methodology or some of the tools I share with you, these solutions all look so different, but actually sitting underneath it are some very basic principles that I keep reusing. So all the clients you see, from Singapore Airlines to Castrol, whatever, it's always using the same. And then I've been lucky enough, because particularly in Asia, we're quite early adopters of technology. So whether it was using, anime and digital media, or whether it was using e-learning with Cisco Systems, it's the enablement of using technology as an enabler is always part of that learning solution or strategy. And then now the big trend is around videos, but it's again, nothing is new. It's been around for a long time, but how do you use videos as part of that learning journey? And storytelling is always quite an important part of engaging your learners and making them feel part of it. So I'm just ran through some of those examples just more as a backdrop to say the future of learning, and it's here already. It's about how do we empower mobile learning. In other words, people need to learn in the moment. That doesn't mean we don't have the 2-day classroom. It doesn't mean we don't have some of these events or all the different formats or e-learning. No one's killing that. But what we're saying is there's a huge gap and an opportunity to look at how do we help people learn every day in real time, real life. But if you do that, then you really, as a professional, you need to get closer to your audience and to really understand what are the jobs they're trying to get done and how the learning is going to be an enabler. So that's the real theme I want to share with you. And maybe I'll just talk and then I'll stop. I won't, I'll keep it quite short, and then you guys can ask me questions. But feel free to interrupt if there's anything that you want to ask in the moment. So basically, the whole idea is taking organizations and the audience, the people in it, so not only your frontline, the people, your clients or your internal clients or external clients, taking them on a journey, but also their stakeholders. So it's really about how do you take them on a journey where improving performance is really about engaging people, aligning them and empowering them so that they can achieve the results better rather than giving them the skills. And the theme now is whether organizations are going lean or they've always had a continuous improvement philosophy, but it's really about things change so quickly, no matter which industry you are, not just technology or banking. You really need to learn and adapt as your customers change, as the dynamics in the market changes. So the key words are engaging people, creating a process of learning every day, and having a clear purpose. So those are sort of 3 anchor words that I'll keep coming back to. In terms of process, this is just a very simple fundamental assumption, and I'll keep reinforcing this, but we all know it, but often when we execute and deliver learning, and when I go into organizations or I go into educational institutions, the natural thing is to default back to training or downloading, or even if they're running a workshop, it's still, there isn't that shift of energy to really focusing on active practice. And the idea is, this is just one quote, but there's tons of research reinforcing this, and we know it intuitively that if you continuously doing something, now whether it's with Coca-Cola, we were helping entrepreneur women in the streets that were street vendors, helping them develop their skills. And instead of running their two-day workshop, which they'd been doing for years, they were finding that the woman didn't have the time, it wasn't having the impact. Whereas if we're able to teach, and I'm using these women street vendors all the way up to senior leaders, executives that we work with at DBS, which is a global bank here based in Singapore, the principle is the same, that when people are actively involved and practicing with intention and with a clear purpose, they're going to get better at what they do. So I just anchor myself on a very old model. It's been around for a long time, and companies have been talking about 70-20-10, and it's just a good mental anchor. It's just a good way to challenge ourselves to say what you're delivering at the moment, how much of it is it really that 10%, which is formal education, which is a lot of it's downloading, it could be experts talking, it could be videos, there are all kinds of ways you can be doing that education. But how much time of that, of the learning time, are you allocating for the 20%, which is learning from peers, learning from each other, and keeping that kind of informal learning? And the biggest missed opportunity is learning from experience, which honestly happens anyway. But as organization, or if we're developing faculty, a lot of that time is not really tracked. And in fact, all the old LMSs, the learning management systems, nowadays they're trying to shift away from that. And some of my clients are now giving course codes to this kind of experiential practicing on the job, and it's doable. So if you do want to track, how many hours someone's practicing, it is possible. But in the old days, we would have just focused on that 10% and maybe, tracked, that stuff rather than, okay, how much are they really, really doing this in the workplace? So this is an existing model, and it's how do we use this model? So when we're actually designing, and we can integrate some existing methods, so no one's throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Like all of you are saying, you've got stuff, you're doing stuff, whether it's online platform or e-learning or instructor-led or whatever, no one's throwing that out. But how do you really take your learners on a journey to make sure that whatever they do actually impacts their performance, that it's scalable, it's sustainable? And that's where we're using, that's why I've partnered with CoursePad, just because I do feel they've got a platform that's really simple, easy to use, and it's quite good to test it out. In other words, you don't have to pay for $1 billion online system and also challenge what you've got already, because that's a lot of our clients have already got a huge investment in technology, but rather try it just to supplement the existing learning, which is a little bit more biased towards the 10%. So if you've got, so I'm going to just run through a couple more assumptions. So if we all agree, which I think we can't argue with, the fact is, over 27 years, I've really noticed what is it that the individuals, teams, organizations, the ones that are really effective, and again, we know this intuitively, but we often don't practice it, or we do it not consciously as we should. The fact is, the key attribute is that, forget about the subject matter expert or expertise, or the common thread is that they're learning and adapting and improving every day. And if you think about it, it's a good way to think about it like it's evolution, right? It's just natural. That's what we do, and it's part of our evolutionary process. And more, not just because the younger generation, but I'm trying to show this dip, is that it's just becoming to the point where doing more and more of the old stuff is not improving. Whether we do more and more of the old training or more and more of the old jobs, what we need to do is actually rethink and make learning far more easy, far more just integrated into my daily practice. And so that's, one of the messages, for tonight. The next thing is about connecting with the fact that if everyone works together towards a common purpose, and sometimes it's beyond the learning team, but I'm just referencing Daniel Pink as one example, but there's tons of research, and again, intuitively we know that we all have a natural ability to, direct our own lives, we all actually do want to improve, and finally, we do want to better ourselves and our world. So wherever we can, whether it's, the faculty or whether it's, clients that we support or our internal team, the fact that when we learn and work together, and also we are clear about that common purpose, so we're learning with a purpose rather than I'm just learning because there's a course and I'm doing the course. And any course titles with a noun, I'm allergic to them. So a course title or a learning experience should always be active, and it should be towards achieving a particular outcome. So what I did is looking at how do we then engage and align people, because all this is all very well and good, these are all just words, blah, 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 we can all agree conceptually. So what I did was I just found that there's a word in English which means alignment. And what I found was when people are working together and are aligned, there's like a natural force that pulls people together. And then I realized that in a learning space, what we could do is, and I translated this in terms of as the learning professionals supporting organizations, businesses, education institutions, faculty, whoever, if we can help as sort of the professional consultants to, these groups, if we can help them clearly define what are their breakthrough goals, what are the 2 or 3 things. So it could be in a faculty situation that they want to increase, student participation or whatever it is, and there's normally most companies or teams, organizations have these, so it's not like we've got to become the business consultants, but it's more about bringing those out, and we're looking for just 2 or 3 bullet points. So for a restaurant, for example, it could be they want to create, like I worked with Nando's, I don't know if you know Nando's, but it's a grilled chicken place. It's a small, medium company, about maybe 1,000-2,000 people. In the same way as I've worked with DBS, and all I try to do from the learning, as a learning partner, is say, okay, what in the next 6 months, if there were 2 or 3 things that we achieved together, what might those be? And sometimes they balk at that, or they can't answer, but actually it's there some way. So whether it's they want to improve their guest experience or they want to improve compliments. So for Nando's, it was, increase the number of compliments. And in fact, they realized when I asked that question, they weren't even counting compliments. So it's often, working with the teams a little bit and engaging with them and really understanding their business, but not trying to be the business consultant, but just to anchor to say, what is performance improvement for you? What does that mean? And then I'm going to help you, because if you look at the visual, we typically jump to learn, like what are we going to teach you? But that's like should be the 5th question. The first question is, what are the outcomes you want to achieve? What is your strategy? Like for Dell, it was, we want everyone to sell more solutions, and we want to be seen as a trusted advisor. And we want to increase the profitability of our sales. That was the 3. So after much discussion, I literally came up with 3 things, and the strategy to get there was boom, 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 was just again. And I'll come back to a worksheet, just to help you. But just visually, you can just picture this, that often there could be a breakthrough goal that the whole company is directed towards, or it could be for that team. And then moving backwards, once we've anchored on what are the outcomes we want to achieve that are defined in performance terms, then we look at by job role or by group, clearly define in results terms. So we're just working backwards. So it's actually backcasting. We're just working back and say, okay, if that's the outcome, then I'm going to use a restaurant example. So the hostess's job, what the hostess at the door must achieve is they must make the customer feel welcome. I mean, that could literally be, and they've got to manage the queue, and if there's time, they've got to tell them a few words about the Nando's if they have never been there before. So we decided on 3 or 4 outcomes. We worked backwards and said, okay, for them to achieve those 3 or 4 things, what are the behaviors? What are only the 6 to 9? Not 9 million, but what are the 6 to 9 behaviors that will drive that result, and what are the critical few? And then working backwards, we then define the knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And we don't even, and that's why clients sometimes get a bit annoyed to say, okay, where's the training, where are the courses? But until we've actually answered those questions, I wouldn't even look at what content, I wouldn't look at methodology, I wouldn't look at anything until I've actually got this done. So here's just a simple example. Here in Singapore, there's an island called Sentosa, and on this island, there's all Resorts World, there's the what do you call that place? Shrek Village, all these attractions, the theme park. So on this island, the theme park section, which has the tourists coming in, there's about 20 million tourists coming onto this small island. I mean, Singapore's only 34 kilometers by 40, but this island is tiny. That's off Singapore. And on this island, 20 million guests come a year to the Universal Studios, to the hotels, to the casino, and they're already achieving a satisfaction rate of 97%. But they report into the government, believe it or not, and the government keeps an eye on the compliments they get, and it's a huge part of the image of Singapore. So they're under a lot of pressure. So imagine they've got thousands of temps that work on this island and that are there to greet the guests at the gantry, when they come through the gate, or at the restaurants. And so just to start, for the next 6 months, we said, what is the job to be done? What is it that if we attack or improve one area and consistently and cohesively, in other words, they're getting such a good satisfaction rate, but how do they sustain that, and how do they make sure it's done consistently with every guest, every day, by everyone? So it's consistent, it's cohesive, and it's very collaboratively done. So we broke that down into 3 simple behaviors to say, okay, every day they've got to get the daily briefing so that they know what's happening on the island, if like one of the attractions isn't working or whatever, and also to celebrate success. So again, that's not an obvious thing, but we decided that that's going to really, the young people, the 18 to 25-year-olds, and it's good for anyone, frankly, to just be acknowledged, and what are the actions that they need to take that day. The second piece, which they've been trained on already, so they've got e-learning, they've got instructor-led, but what was happening was, once they'd been through the training and on-the-job coaching, everyone would forget about it and just get back into slump back. So then we said, okay, how do we constantly refresh and remind them, and to look after the grooming, how they welcome guests, and their whole job's a bit like Disney World, they've got to create a show. So inside each one of these lessons, there are videos, there's tips, there's all kinds of refreshers. And the last thing is, and these are just some examples, we didn't have that many because we just started off with what are some of the issues for the next 6 months. But this was more, the third piece was around job functions, like safety rules, money handling, like if there's challenging situations, if there are any accidents or whatever, or unhappy guest. So this is how we translated back. And then this is the application using CoursePad, where we took all that content, and if you just see the way we design, when we design, we begin with the achieve, we work backwards the do, and then we learn. That's how we design it. But then when we deliver the learning, we work the other way around. So we say, okay, we push it out by saying, okay, this is what you need to learn, one bite size at a time. Like this is learning, how to do the first part of your grooming. Then you immediately get to do it. So in the app or whatever platform you're using, and that's the cool thing about mobile, is that it's with them all the time. So it's like a coach in their pocket. That doesn't mean their manager or their supervisor or whatever doesn't come and reinforce it, but it's just an enabler. And also there's consistency around everyone's going to come and reinforce this particular application of the learning. So then they do it. And then the third part of the CoursePad app, which I think is the most powerful, is then they share what they've done. So what we're doing is getting the staff to actually just take selfies, for example, just to show the grooming. But we're doing the same with very, very senior leaders at DBS, which is the Development Bank of Singapore. And the senior leaders are, for example, using certain strategic tools. They're learning the tool. They're doing it for within their workplace, and then they share, for example, if they're doing stakeholder mapping, they'll take a picture and they'll share the insights to say, okay, got the rules, understand how to do stakeholder mapping. But one of the challenges I had was, how do you get hold of these stakeholders? They don't make time, and then, other people can share. And under the share piece is where you get a dialogue going and you get collaboration. So it becomes social learning. So just in conclusion, the key steps is whether, working with us or on your own, it's about really being clear, and just in summary, absolutely clear on who the people, what is the purpose, what is their job to be done. And then in our view, it's about how do you continue. You can still have instructor-led, it can still support e-learning, but how do you support that learning every day where people are learning and doing and sharing? And also with these kind of mobile platforms like CoursePad, you can actually deploy rapidly. So that's what I found, like within a couple of days, I could get the content from Sentosa, from the banks, from all the clients, Coca-Cola. And within a few days, we took the instructor-led and the existing e-learning, and we pulled out the key points, and we had it up and running, and we uploaded the users. And the value of it is that on a daily basis, people are learning, doing, and sharing. And at the same time, you can actually track the back end. So you can track, rewards and not so much. You can of course track, level 2, 3, 4, the usual assessments. But what we're trying to do is really track participation. So let me stop there. I've got another example here. I don't know if it's useful. It's something we've done with a high net worth customers' children. How we took a very complex subject like wealth management and we turned it into a mobile app. But let me just stop there and see. I can come back to this if we need more examples. So let me just stop there and just get your thoughts. Melissa, I'm just going to reach out to you first and just say.
Well, a lot of what you're talking about, we are already doing.
Okay, great.
We are very much into MOOCs, stuff like that, and we are very much into mobile technology. I'm not sure if you're familiar with NTU.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do have our own learning designers as well from the Center for IT Services. And these are the people from the Learning Solutions and Applications division. For ourselves, from the TLPD, from the Teaching, Learning and Pedagogy division, we also hold workshops teaching stuff like that. So what you're doing and your pedagogy that's involved here is actually the backward design process where you do constructive alignment of the learning outcomes and peg that to what they will be learning and how they will be assessed. So it's very familiar for me. In terms of your technology, I'd like to learn more about that. I'm just wondering if what you have and what you're offering would be very suitable for our HR department, because we have about 3,600 staff at the moment, and I think they have not been very active in looking at mobile technology as well. So that might be an avenue for you to talk to the people in OHR.
That sounds great. So you're saying, like, in principle, in philosophy, in that there's definitely alignment. It's just a matter, there may be an opportunity just in terms of applying it to the faculty and their development. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much for the faculty though. It's a little bit tough.
Oh, the 3,600. So you're saying
staff and faculty. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, and any insights that you want to share then, in terms of what do you find works really well, or just using this kind of approach? I mean, are you getting, like as you said, some of the challenges just getting the engagement from the faculty?
Yeah, ours is face-to-face. Well, we have the flipped classroom pedagogy, and then
for the students, right?
For not just for the students, but for the faculty as well. We have this learning, and this is heavily applied to the LKC School of Medicine. And we are trying to roll out to the entire campus as well, but in phases. And right now we are doing the curriculum mapping for the entire institution, for all the schools and the colleges. In terms of technology, we are picking up the slack. We are trying to get there, but we're not there yet. But we do have systems like that that are built in house. We have our apps and stuff like that. But COSPAD is interesting because I think you're talking about the organization as a whole, and you are also building a community of practice here, where you can actually learn from your peers, your mentors, and your coaches and stuff like that. So I think that's good. Um, so maybe I think there's an opportunity for you to work with our HR division.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, no, thanks for that, because I mean, Shaway can follow up on that, so thanks.
Yeah.
And then, Rachel, on your side, just any thoughts or reactions or what's useful from what I'm sharing?
I mean, I'd also be keen to learn how the technology works and exactly how you put what you've been talking about into practice. I mean, our background is we're very much classroom, but we go to our clients into the classroom. But I think having spoken to some people, I can see that there's starting to be a move away from that. That certainly for perhaps more basic stuff, that there's a way that we could work with our clients to do our training slightly differently. So I'm just quite interested to see what exactly how exactly CoursePad works.
Yeah, and I think like you're saying, I think the reality is, I think Classroom's never going to go away. So if I just share this example, so this was Standard Chartered Bank, but the bank's worldwide, and again, different case study to you guys completely, but just using it as a sort of success story. The fact is, every year they bring the high net worth customers' children, so they've got their top clients from all over the world, and they were flying them in to Singapore. So no one's knocking that. In other words, there's always going to be that opportunity for face-to-face and getting that, interaction, at every generation. I think everyone still likes that. And even for yourselves that are running, those classroom-based sessions for your clients, it's just more of a matter of then saying, what we did was we actually took a lot of the content and we pulled it out so that because they had a limited time, and I mean, normally we can develop people, over longer periods, but this group, we had them like for 2 or 3 months, and they just came into Singapore for a week. So we didn't kill that event because the kids like it. They come and they meet each other, and they're from all over the world, and it was really cool for them. But what we changed was that there was just so much content. So all the bankers and all the product specialists and all the wealth managers were coming along and just drowning the kids and boring them for a week. So what we did was we took a step back and we said, okay, if investing in my future success, I mean, that's what they want. That's what they want to get out of that. They want tools and they want to really understand and they want support on that journey. So what we did was reframe the whole curriculum and took a step back and said, okay, that's what they want to achieve really, really. They don't just want to come and get like detailed knowledge on wealth management. That's not really what they want. So we took a step back, and then through interviewing the kids, we came up with, okay, what we need is we need to help them, and especially nowadays, there's a lot of research on young entrepreneurs and high net worth kids that they're definitely far more purpose-driven, which I think we all are, but I think the kids are more conscious of it. So we summarized the entire curriculum into 3 strands where we help them clearly identify and define their purpose. That's in the middle. And then on the left, it was, what is your inner wealth? What is your brand? Who are you? And what do you want to become? And then on the right, it was, okay, and how are you going to use your wealth? So the wealth management became knowledge and skills they were learning in the context of achieving their purpose and in the context of being who they want to be. So we actually called the app Future Me, and we took them through a journey of, you can imagine if this is the future you can imagine success. What does that mean to you? And then we took them through these activities. So if you see them, a course would be, step 1 is imagine success, and that could be a course. So we're just using the word course just because that's what people are familiar with, but it's like a practice area, and it's a behavior that you want to be able to be proficient in. And then we broke down Imagine into a whole lot of lessons. So we just did 6 lessons. And in those lessons, what we did was, so the first step in any of these things is to clearly define the outcomes and then to map the learning journey. And so the 6, you can see there, it's about, creating self-awareness and then discovering your strengths. And then within each of the lesson, if you look on the last screenshot, we had videos, we had learning points, and that's where we allowed them to learn something about how do you define, how do you increase self-awareness, teach them a bit of psychology, a bit of cognitive metacognition, so a few key principles that one would learn in these kind of self-awareness training. But then we immediately got them to do something with it and share it. So I'll stop there. So that's basically how we map. And then the app, as I said, just becomes your ongoing support or your coach, that then the subject matter experts and the core team keeps revitalizing and adding fresh content, and then at some point the audience itself starts creating content and contributing content. So I'll stop there and just say that's I think that what the platform allows is to create a structure, to manage a pathway or a journey, and then also to facilitate this kind of learning, which is learning every day and learning, doing, and sharing, and building a community, which most of the clients or organizations we work with, that's their bigger goal, is to create a community that's learning and supporting each other every day, so they're not the only ones pushing content, but the community is actually driving the building of content and sharing the best practices. So let me stop there and see if there are any other thoughts or questions.
Well said. It's a very interesting tool, actually. I'm not sure if you're looking into entering the private education institutions here, but I think they would welcome, what you have to offer.
You mean like the private schools or the tertiary?
The bigger boys, yeah. Those private education institutions like PSB, Kaplan, yeah.
Oh, those bigger boys, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the capital city training that Rachel's from, the bigger players, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Melissa, yeah. Just any other questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I will probably get in touch with Jiawei.
Okay.
So that I'll give you some names to follow up with.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, in OHR.
Yeah, we can definitely meet. We'll arrange for something and drop by probably about 2 weeks from now. I'll be down in Singapore with Laurie and Kevin.
Okay, sure. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, that's great. Rachel, just any other questions or any other thoughts?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Yeah, so just drop us a line, or Xiaowei will just follow up with you if there's any, and we're happy to share, our experiences, and then, if there's opportunities, that's great. If not, we're happy also just to share, because we're also learning as we're going, so it's, and leveraging what we've learned in the past from e-learning and what works and what doesn't, but it is also a slightly different space at the same time, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's good.
Wonderful, and thank you all for sharing. Thank you, Laurie, and thank you, Jiawei. Thank you.
Melissa and Rachel.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, bye.